Here's something nobody tells you before you board that ship. The moment the gangway pulls away from the dock in Juneau, your options change completely. You can't run to a pharmacy for the medication you forgot. You can't swap your cabin because the noise from the engine room is keeping you up at night. You can't decide halfway through that the shore excursion your travel agent booked is actually too physically demanding for your knees. Every single decision you make before you board either protects you or exposes you. And for travelers over 60, the margin for error is razor thin. The good news is that with the right preparation, an Alaska cruise isn't just manageable, it's genuinely one of the most breathtaking travel experiences on the planet. But that preparation looks nothing like what the generic packing lists and glossy travel magazines are telling you. What separates the travelers who come home raving about glaciers and humpback whales from the ones who spent half the trip in the ship's medical center comes down to a handful of decisions most people never even think to make. Don't let a simple, avoidable mistake be the thing that stands between you and the Alaska adventure you've been dreaming about for years. You've worked hard to get to this point in your life, and you deserve every single moment of that glacier view, that whale sighting, and that gold rush history soaking into your bones in Skagway. If today's tips gave you even one thing you didn't know before, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps more travelers like you find this information before it's too late. And if you want to keep traveling smarter, with confidence and without the costly surprises, subscribe to this channel because we are here every week with exactly that kind of guidance. Now I want to hear from you down in the comments. Which Alaskan port has your name written all over it? Are you drawn to the lush rainforest streets of Ketchikan, the dramatic mountain trails of Skagway, or the whale-watching waters surrounding Juneau? Drop your answer below and let's get a conversation going, because sometimes the best travel tips come from each other. Before we get into any tips, we need to have an honest conversation about what Alaska actually is, because this single misunderstanding ruins more cruises than anything else. Alaska is not the Caribbean, not even close. Even in the heart of summer, Alaska's weather is cold, wet, and genuinely unpredictable. We are talking about temperatures that can swing from 45 degrees in the morning to 65 degrees by afternoon, then drop right back down before dinner. That is a 20-degree shift in a single day. Now, for younger travelers, that might just mean grabbing a jacket. But for travelers over 60, cold and damp conditions hit differently. Joints ache faster, fatigue sets in sooner, and getting chilled on a glacier excursion is not just uncomfortable, it can genuinely affect your health and cut your entire day short. This is the foundation everything else builds on. Keep this reality in mind as we move forward. Now let's talk about something most cruise guides completely gloss over, and that is physical preparation. Alaska ports are not like strolling through a Caribbean shopping district. We are talking about cobblestone streets in Ketchikan, gravel paths near Juneau's waterfront, wet wooden docks in Sitka, and uneven terrain practically everywhere you step. Add rain to that mix, and surfaces become genuinely slippery. Many excursions also involve hills, steep gangways, and outdoor environments that demand real leg strength and solid balance. For travelers over 60, this is not something to take lightly. Here is what I strongly recommend. Start a simple daily walking routine at least 6 to 8 weeks before your departure date. You do not need a gym membership. Just walk. Start with 20 minutes and gradually build up. This builds the stamina and joint resilience you will absolutely need when you are out exploring these incredible Alaskan ports day after day. Now here is something that almost nobody warns seniors about, and it genuinely surprises people when they encounter it for the first time. At certain ports along your Alaska itinerary, the ship cannot dock directly at shore. Instead, passengers board small vessels called tender boats to reach land. Ports like Sitka are well known for this. Here is why this matters specifically for you. Boarding a tender boat means stepping from a large moving ship onto a smaller moving vessel. The gap shifts, the boat rocks, and your footing is never completely stable. For anyone dealing with balance concerns, bad knees, or hip issues, this transfer can feel genuinely intimidating and even risky without proper awareness. The good news is you can prepare. Before booking, pull up your specific itinerary and search which ports require tender transfers. Your cruise line will list this information. Knowing in advance lets you plan accordingly, request crew assistance, or adjust your expectations for those particular port days. Now let's talk about something that catches a lot of travelers completely off guard, and that is navigating the ship itself. We often focus so much on shore excursions that we forget the vessel is essentially a floating city. On larger cruise ships, corridors can stretch hundreds of feet from end to end, and getting from your cabin to the dining room, the theatre, or the observation deck can mean walking significant distances multiple times a day. If mobility is any kind of concern for you, this matters enormously. Booking a cabin closer to the elevators and positioned midship is one of the smartest decisions you can make. Midship cabins experience less motion and put you centrally located between all the main amenities. Many travelers over 60 genuinely underestimate how much walking happens just moving around the ship daily. Before you even step foot in a port, you may have already walked half a mile. Plan accordingly and protect your energy. Now let's talk packing. And I want to start with the single most important strategy for Alaska, the layering system. This is not optional. This is essential. Think of your clothing in 3 distinct layers. Your base layer sits closest to your skin, and its job is warmth and moisture management. Your mid-layer, think a fleece or down jacket, provides insulation and traps your body heat. Your outer layer must be waterproof and windproof, because Alaska will test you with both. Here is something critical that most people get wrong. Cotton is your enemy in Alaska. Seriously, leave your cotton shirts and sweatshirts at home. Cotton absorbs moisture and holds it against your skin, which makes you significantly colder and can even become dangerous in wet conditions. Instead, choose merino wool or moisture-wicking synthetic fabrics for your base layer. They regulate temperature beautifully and dry quickly, keeping you comfortable throughout unpredictable Alaskan days. Now let's get specific about what absolutely needs to be in your bag. First, waterproof walking shoes or light hiking boots with solid ankle support are completely non-negotiable. Alaska's docks, trails, and town streets are often wet and uneven, and a twisted ankle can ruin everything. Next, compression socks. Wear them on excursion days and during flights to reduce swelling and fatigue in your legs. You will genuinely feel the difference by afternoon. Pack a compact, packable rain jacket that folds small enough to slip into your day bag. Alaska weather changes without warning, and you need that layer accessible at all times. Even in July, lightweight gloves and a warm hat belong in your backpack every single day. Glacier winds are no joke. And here is the mindset shift I want you to carry with you. Overpacking warm layers is never a mistake in Alaska. Being cold and miserable absolutely is. Pack more warmth than you think you need. Now let's talk health and comfort packing, because this is where the 60-plus traveler needs to think differently than everyone else. First, motion sickness remedies are absolutely essential. Tender boat transfers involve stepping onto small, rocking vessels, and certain stretches of the inside passage can get genuinely choppy. Pack Dramamine, Sea-Bands, or talk to your doctor about prescription scopolamine patches before you leave home. Speaking of prescriptions, every single medication you take should travel in your carry-on luggage, never checked baggage. Bring at least a 5 to 7 day extra supply beyond your trip length. Delays happen, luggage gets lost, and remote Alaskan ports are not places where you can easily refill a prescription. For glacier viewing days, portable hand warmers are absolute game changers. Tuck several pairs into your day bag. Finally, a small foldable trekking pole or walking stick provides tremendous stability on uneven, wet excursion terrain, protecting your knees, hips, and confidence simultaneously. Now let's talk about your cabin. and specifically why a balcony is not a splurge on an Alaska cruise. It is genuinely essential, especially for travelers over 60. On a Caribbean cruise, your balcony might collect dust while you lounge at the pool. Alaska is completely different. That balcony becomes your private wildlife and glacier viewing platform from the moment you sail into the inside passage. Imagine sitting in your robe with a warm coffee, watching a humpback whale breach 50 yards from your ship, or spotting a bald eagle perched on a floating chunk of ice, or witnessing a glacier calving, sending massive sheets of ice crashing into the water, all without elbowing through crowds on the main deck. For seniors who may find standing in large outdoor crowds physically tiring, a balcony cabin removes that challenge entirely. You experience Alaska on your own terms in comfort at your own pace. Now that you know why a balcony cabin matters, let's talk about how to choose the right one, because not all balconies are created equal on an Alaska cruise. Port side versus starboard side can make a significant difference depending on your itinerary direction. If your ship is sailing northbound, one side may face the coastline and glaciers, while the other faces open water. Before booking, research your specific sailing route and find out which side offers glacier views. Cruise forums and Facebook groups dedicated to Alaska sailings are goldmines for this exact information. Now, regarding deck level, higher decks give you more elevated panoramic views, which sounds ideal. However, higher decks also experience more noticeable movement during rough water stretches. For travelers over 60 who are sensitive to motion or simply want a more stable, comfortable experience, a lower midship balcony cabin is often the smarter choice. You still get stunning views without the added sway. Stability and scenery, both in one cabin. Now let's talk excursions, because this is where many seniors either have the time of their lives or completely wear themselves out. The golden rule is simple: book early. The best low-impact excursions sell out weeks, sometimes months before departure. Do not wait until you board the ship. But here's what matters even more than timing. Not all excursions are created equal. When you're browsing options, specifically look for labels like scenic, leisurely, or easy terrain. Those words are your green light. If something is rated strenuous, skip it, unless you have genuinely been training for it. Two categories that deliver incredible experiences without destroying your body are whale-watching boats and glacier flight seeing. Both are low-impact and absolutely breathtaking. You're sitting or standing comfortably while nature puts on a show around you. Smart excursion choices protect your energy and maximize your memories, which is exactly what this trip deserves. Now, here is a mistake that catches so many travelers off guard, and it is completely avoidable. Booking excursions on every single port day sounds exciting when you are planning from home, but Alaska ports are almost always on consecutive days. That means your body never gets a break. The physical demands stack up fast, and the sensory experience, the cold air, the terrain, the constant stimulation, is genuinely exhausting in the best possible way. Here is what experienced Alaska cruisers over 60 consistently say they wish they had done differently. Build in at least one sea day or one low-activity port day to rest, recharge, and actually enjoy the ship itself. Overscheduling is consistently one of the top regrets reported by older Alaska cruisers. You do not need to fill every hour to have an unforgettable trip. Sometimes the most memorable moments happen when you slow down and simply take it all in. Now let's talk about the moment most Alaska cruisers say changed them forever: glacier viewing. Glacier Bay and Hubbard Glacier are the absolute crown jewels of most Alaska itineraries, and nothing quite prepares you for seeing them in person. On glacier days, something special happens. The ship slows to almost a crawl, and park rangers or onboard naturalists actually come aboard to narrate what you're witnessing. They'll explain the science, the history, and point out details you'd completely miss on your own. It transforms the experience from simply watching ice into something genuinely profound. Here's the critical thing. Dress in your absolute warmest layers. Even on a brilliantly sunny glacier day, standing on an open deck is shockingly cold. The wind coming off that ice is relentless. And this is exactly where your balcony cabin pays for itself completely. While other passengers are crowding the outer decks fighting for position, you're standing privately on your own balcony, warm drink in hand, watching ancient ice carve directly in front of you. Now let's talk about something that catches many seniors completely off guard: seasickness, and how it connects to your dining choices on board. The good news is that Alaska's inside passage is largely protected water, meaning it stays relatively calm for most of your journey. However, the Gulf of Alaska stretch is a different story entirely. Open ocean swells can make even experienced cruisers feel uncomfortable. If you know you're prone to motion sensitivity, start by requesting a lower midship cabin when booking. This position on the ship experiences the least amount of movement, giving your body the best chance to stay comfortable. Before departure, visit your doctor and ask about prescription seasickness patches. These work significantly better than over-the-counter options and need to be applied before symptoms begin. On rougher sailing days, eat lighter meals rather than heavy ones. And here's a surprisingly effective natural remedy that many seniors swear by: ginger candies. Keep a small bag in your pocket at all times. They genuinely work. Now let's talk about something that is absolutely non-negotiable for travelers over 60 on an Alaska cruise, and that is travel insurance. This is not optional. This is not something you figure out later. This is something you purchase the moment you book your trip. Here is why. Medical evacuation from a remote Alaskan port can cost anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 or more. Alaska is wilderness. Hospitals are not around every corner. If something goes wrong during a glacier excursion or a tender boat transfer, getting you to proper medical care is extraordinarily expensive without coverage. You need a policy that specifically covers three things: pre-existing conditions, trip cancellation, and emergency medical evacuation. Read the fine print carefully. And here is the critical part most people miss. Buy your insurance at the time of booking, not 3 weeks later. Many pre-existing condition waivers only apply when you purchase immediately after your initial trip deposit. Protect your full investment from day one. Now let's talk timing, because when you sail matters just as much as how you prepare. The Alaska cruise season runs from late May through mid-September. But for seniors, late June through July is genuinely the sweet spot. You get the longest daylight hours, which means more time spotting wildlife and glaciers. Temperatures are milder, wildlife is highly active, and the overall experience feels more forgiving. Shoulder season in May can be tempting because prices drop noticeably. But here is the trade-off. It is colder, wetter, and some wildlife simply has not fully emerged yet. If budget is your priority, May works, but go in with adjusted expectations. August is another strong option for wildlife viewing. Bears are feeding heavily, and humpback whales are incredibly active. However, August also brings families on school holiday breaks, meaning ships and popular excursions fill up faster. Book your preferred sailing early, especially if you want specific cabin locations or low-impact excursions. Now here are a few insider secrets that most travel content completely ignores. First, bring binoculars. Seriously, this is one of the most underrated packing items for any Alaska cruise. Spotting humpback whales or bald eagles from your balcony becomes an entirely different experience when you can actually see them up close. Next, cell service is almost non-existent in many Alaskan ports. Do not assume you can pull up Google Maps or your excursion confirmation on the spot. Download offline maps and all excursion details before you leave the ship. Bring cash in small bills. Local guides and tender operators genuinely appreciate tips, and card readers are not always available in remote ports. Finally, always carry a small dry bag. Rain and sea spray are constant companions in Alaska, and your phone or camera will not survive without protection. These small details make a surprisingly big difference to your overall experience. Here is the truth that nobody says loudly enough. Alaska is not just for the young, the athletic, or the fearless. It is for anyone who prepares with intention, and that is exactly what you have done by watching this far. The travelers who come home frustrated are the ones who packed cotton layers, booked inside cabins, skipped the insurance, and assumed Alaska would feel like every other cruise they had taken. They were wrong, and it cost them comfort, money, and memories. But the travelers who come home absolutely transformed, who stood on their balcony watching a glacier carve into the sea, who spotted humpback whales from a quiet, tender boat, who walked Skagway without a single stumble, those travelers did the work in advance. They layered correctly, chose the right cabin, booked smart excursions, and showed up ready. That is you now. Alaska is waiting, and you are more prepared than most people half your age. And hey, if you are a true cruise maniac, someone who lives and breathes everything about life at sea, then this channel was built specifically for you. Hit that subscribe button right now and ring that notification bell so you never miss a single video. We are dropping new cruise content every week, from hidden gem ports to insider tips that the cruise lines do not want you to know about. Whether you are obsessed with river cruises, ocean liners, or expedition voyages to the ends of the earth, we have got you covered. Join our growing community of passionate cruisers who are always planning their next voyage, comparing itineraries, and sharing the kind of real, honest advice that only comes from people who truly love the sea. This is your tribe, and we would love to have you aboard.